Hey guys, and welcome to part one of my AMD versus Nvidia series. Two-part series, not much of a series, but still kind of a series. In these videos, I will be talking about the pros and cons of choosing AMD or Nvidia, and basically, why you should, what you should, you know, have in consideration when buying a new graphics card. All right, let's get started. Alright, so this is the first part, and in this part I will be talking about kind of the pros and cons of choosing AMD and Nvidia. So why don't we start out with AMD? So the pros of AMD are generally better price to performance, their gaming evolved suite of software, um, and also the fact that they, uh, since as AMD has, released their cards, they have newer cards out, because they just refreshed their line. So basically, the thing about AMD is their new graphics cards can match or beat Nvidia's graphics cards in a lot of ways. Sometimes they don't. They don't really have a Titan X kind of thing. They don't have like the fastest GPU, but what I'm saying is, they kind of match or do slightly better in terms of performance to their Nvidia counterparts. Another thing is more variety of cards, and uh, they do have a lot of cards, and that's not necessarily a good thing. But the one good thing that comes out of that is the fact that it can fit a variety of systems. So uh, you can find an AMD card that's just right for your that's just right in terms of performance and price. That'll match, the price of your build overall. All right. So some of the cons of AMD. Some of these you might already know, and most of these are widely known. But okay. First of all, AMD does run pretty hot. Compared to they do run hotter than their Nvidia counterparts, and that's because they are kind of stretching old technology to the limits. Uh, their cards don't actually have like the newest GPU, but um, basically they do run hotter. Temperatures are going to be higher. That shouldn't really bother you unless you're using like a small form factor case or you just don't have very good airflow. But it won't really matter. That's just one thing to take into consideration. Um, Driver issues. AMD does have driver issues, and I've encountered these before while playing games. They've gotten better, yeah. Their new drivers, 15.12, I believe. Anyhow, they work for me. They work pretty well on everything, except there are some graphical glitches in Fallout 4. If you look at the little bar at the bottom of the HUD, it will kind of glitch out. But other than that, yeah. But AMD does have driver issues. Another thing about AMD is power consumption. Uh, I mean, they do consume more power, but it's not going to affect you that much. They're not going to cost you that. It's not going to cost you that much more money than running an Nvidia card. So, um, and another thing, it lacks some features in Nvidia cards that are present in Nvidia cards. Notable examples include MFAA, which is a better anti-aliasing alternative, and stuff like that. They do have equivalents, like they have Tress Effects, which is kind of the equivalent of Hairworks for Nvidia, but some of the features are not present, or they've just started to add them. Yeah, so why don't we move on to Nvidia? All right, so Nvidia, some of the pros include they are cooler. They aren't hot. They don't run as hot as AMD cards, due to their architecture being very energy efficient. They have lower power consumption. Also, yeah, that. And they have lots of features, including, before I said, MFAA, Hairworks, things like that that have just started to have been integrated into AMD hardware or software, but like weren't present before in AMD, or they just don't exist. AMD doesn't have an equivalent. So if you want kind of the cool technologies that Nvidia has to offer, that's one thing to take into consideration. Also, newer technology. I'm pretty sure Maxwell is more advanced than Hawaii or Tonga. Um, so that's one thing to take into consideration. And that's the reason why it runs cooler, um, and it has less power consumption. I'm pretty sure it's slightly more advanced. But I'm not saying that AMD doesn't make great GPUs. They do, but yeah, there are some cons though. These include Nvidia has like worse priced performance. They have generally more expensive graphics cards. The GTX 970 is kind of a $330 graphics card, and although the 390 is a competitor to the 970, there are like 390s for like $270 or something, which is like $60 less than a competing Nvidia card. So Nvidia cards are generally more expensive. AMD matches or outperforms most Nvidia cards at the moment, just because they just came out with their new 300 series, and so they kind of match or exceed Nvidia in terms of performance. And they haven't released a new card in a while. I'm pretty sure Pascal is coming up soon. But if you're buying a PC right now and you want to get Nvidia, I would advise you wait until Pascal, just because it depends on the card you're getting. If you're getting the 950, I don't know who would get the 950. It's kind of overpriced for its amount of performance. But if you're getting something like that, then by all means go Nvidia. But if you're really into getting the newest stuff, I would advise kind of waiting. Also, the fourth, this is not that much of a serious one, but 3.5 gigs of VRAM. GTX 970. You told us it was 4 gigs. I was considering getting the 970, but then 970 prices went up, and then I was like, hey, 3.5 gigs of VRAM. Nvidia lied. I'm going AMD, and that's not the complete reason why I went AMD, but I mean, like, that was one thing. Anyway, alright, thanks for watching part 1 of this series. Part 2 will be, like, what to actually take into consideration when buying a new graphics card. So, where you should use these kind of, like, pros and cons in order to choose your new card. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. See you next week. Or maybe Walt will post videos for